Game week 13 was full of ups and downs for me. I had a disaster where I triple captained Haaland for a blank, and I know a load of other managers would have used their free hit. But somehow I still got a green arrow. I scored 51 points, and I'm up to 341k overall. And in this video, I'm going to go through my transfer plans for game week 14. All right, then we'll start off by looking at how my team got on. As I said, 51 points, and we're up to 341k overall. Transfer that I made going into the game week, well, I made two moves. I made three moves. I had to sell Gabriel to get Timber. I free hit back in game week 12, which meant that all of the transfers, I made a transfer. I did Gabriel to Van Dijk that week, but obviously the free hit reversed that. So this week I decided to do Gabriel to Timber. I was just looking, honestly, at all the other defences in the league, and I was thinking, well, Liverpool at that stage were pretty hopeless. They did obviously keep a clean sheet away at West Ham, but, you know, it's West Ham. And I just thought, Chelsea game is tough, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't completely rule out an Arsenal clean sheet in that game. And, well, when Caicedo got sent off, who probably has been Chelsea's best player this season, I was like, well, we're quids in here. And then they obviously had the corner straight at the start of the second half, and Chalobah scored with the header. And I think, well, he was sort of Timber's man as well, which was kind of annoying. So the defender I brought in was maybe slightly at fault for the goal. Also, I don't think Arsenal looked all that great in that game. Like, they just looked, to be honest, they looked like a team that have played a lot of football and looked a little bit leggy, whereas Chelsea were fantastic, and they were maybe showing the benefits of being able to rotate their team a little bit more than Arsenal have done. I don't know if that's a fair point. But yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise result, I think, after Caicedo got sent off. But Chelsea were good value for it. Obviously, that meant Raya got 3 points, Timber got 2. Crystal Palace got beat by Man United as well. The one thing I would say about Crystal Palace is they look I said Arsenal look a little bit leggy. Crystal Palace look extremely leggy. Even Glasner in his press conferences was saying, not necessarily taking shots, but saying that he is not happy that they didn't make investments in the summer, like, i.e. he's got a thin squad and players look tired. Yeah, Gahey 0-pointer. A little bit worried about him going forwards, but they do have Burnley next, and I don't think there might be some rotation for that game for Palace, but I don't see Gahey being the one that is rotated, to be honest. Senesi, been a nightmare. He picked up his 5th yellow card as well in game week 13, so I'm going to have to do something, I think, about that, looking at the other defenders I've got and the fixtures they have. Bournemouth have just been really disappointing in recent game weeks in terms of keeping clean sheets. And to be honest, yeah, he's got his 5 yellow cards as well, so I think it could be time to get rid of Senesi. Iliman Ndiaye with a blank. He's off to AFCON soon. I'm not blown away by what he's done in recent weeks, but at the same time, I don't think I'll be getting rid of him. Bruno Fernandes with a couple of assists and some bonus. He played really well against Crystal Palace, and hopefully this is the start of a little bit of a Bruno Fernandes redemption arc in FPL. Saka got the assist for the Arsenal goal against Chelsea. He's going to stay in my team. He's not going anywhere. And then Semenyo, another blank for him. The only redeeming feature about Semenyo in my team, right now at least, is not his form, that's for sure, but it's the fact that he plays 90 minutes every game. And I think when we get to game week 14 and looking at my team, there's going to be some rotation, right? And I think Semenyo is one of the players that probably won't get rotated. You know, Bournemouth are not in European football. He's probably one of, if not the best attacker that they have, even though he's not been in great form recently. I just don't foresee him. I certainly don't foresee him getting rotated. We'll see, though. Igor Thiago was my transfer in, so I got rid of Enzo Fernandez and Krupi Jr., and I bought in Igor Thiago and Freddie Potts from West Ham. I think in one game week at least, that move paid off. The concept of Enzo Fernandez playing against Arsenal was not fantastic. I thought, well, Arsenal are literally the best club defence in the world, aren't they? Let's be honest, or have been this season. He's probably not going to get a lot in that game. And also, Cole Palmer is going to return for Chelsea. He was on the bench in that game. So I was like, with all that in mind, and obviously they've got Burnley in game week 14, with all that in mind, I was just like, Enzo Fernandez, he's not quite as good as an option as he was before. Loses the penalties to Palmer, probably a share of the attacking returns. And with Leeds at game week 14, that could be a game where he gets rotated. But with Caicedo getting sent off, I'm not sure that's going to happen anymore. But regardless, I went for Thiago. I think it was the right move. You know, a couple of goals for him. Looked, well, good value for his second goal, maybe. It was actually from open play, and obviously Brentford got another penalty. They're just getting a ridiculous amount of penalties. Speaking of a ridiculous amount of penalties, Mateta's goal came from a retaken penalty from a double touch. We'll take that from Mateta. I've got to say, I think versus the free hit, I obviously didn't win. I didn't get the same amount of points by any stretch, but I think the players that I would have gotten rid of on a free hit still did well. Like the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Saka and Mateta, they still got me something. And that leads me on to Erling Haaland, who was my triple captain. Complete blank. Obviously, that still means 6 points on your triple captain. Man City scored 3 goals against Leeds. He wasn't involved in any of them. Phil Foden was obviously the star in the game. But going into that, I'm pretty sure Erling Haaland has had over 50% of Man City's XG so far this season, which is one of the highest ever recorded in European football history. So he's playing Leeds at home, and I'm thinking, all right, this is a good opportunity to use the triple captain. There were 2 chances. You had Leeds at home in 15, and I think the West Ham game in 17 is looking... Sorry. Leeds at home in 13, West Ham in 17 is also looking like a really good opportunity. But the thing for me was about that West Ham game in 17 is that it's in the future. Like, anything can happen between now and then. And I just thought, why would I wait and risk him getting injured or something crazy happening so he doesn't play in Game Week 17? So I used it this week. It didn't pay off. It looked like 1.1 million other FPL managers did the same as well. Can we count ourselves unlucky? I think so. I don't think anyone can tell me it was a bad decision to triple captain Haaland against Leeds. I've just gotten a little bit unlucky. So we move on. I still got a green arrow, 51 points, 341k overall. Before we get into my team for Game Week 14, I just wanted to quickly mention the FPL Cartel. Myself and my good mate, who's also an FPL YouTuber, you've probably heard of him, I think, if you're watching this video, FPL Tom, have started the FPL Cartel. It's an exclusive members-only area through a Discord, basically. So there's a chat in that Discord with the 2 of us in it, lots of different channels for various things. I had to start a little venting chat after what happened this weekend. It's been good fun to be part of the cartel. And as well as that, you get yourself an exclusive weekly podcast with the 2 of us as well. And you can sign up to the cartel using the link in the description below. We're giving you a 30-day free trial when you initially sign up, so you get to see if you like it for the first 30 days. You can obviously cancel if you don't. Hopefully you enjoy it. I think everyone in the group would say that they are at the moment. And yeah, there's a link in the description to sign up. All right then, so here is my team for Game Week 14. And overall, it's not too bad. I think we're in a decent place. Most of my players have good fixtures. There are a couple of things I'm a little bit worried about. First up is obviously rotation, right? One player I'm really worried about getting rotated is Timber. I just have a feeling after that Arsenal performance that Arteta will identify that they didn't play very well and potentially rotate Timber, because I think they got Ben White who can play in that position. Saliba, he could be back. I think it all depends really on if Saliba's back, because they're really low on numbers if he's not. You know, Hincapié, Mosquera, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly have obviously shared minutes in the Chelsea game, but I just think Timber might have to play if there's no Saliba. But if Saliba's back, that could add to some rotation risk. Yeah, a little bit worried about that, but I don't think I can do anything really about that one. Another worry I've got is my other defender. So Senesi's got his ban. He would have been great against Everton at home, which is mainly one of the reasons why I actually kept him. I was considering selling him for a little while. But with that Everton at home game looming, I was like, that's a decent fixture. And he's obviously gotten himself banned. And what I've got left is a weaker defender. But we'll move on to that in a second. I also think the Fantasy Football Hub, well, all of the data under the players, by the way, comes from Fantasy Football Hub. This is predicted points data from them. And there's a link in the description to sign up. Their expected points don't necessarily suggest it. But I think it all depends on minutes, but this is the top players for expected points according to Solio this week. It all depends on minutes, like I said, but I do think there is a small argument to captain someone that isn't Erling Haaland, right? I think there's a couple of reasons why Bruno Fernandes could be the best captain this week. Number one is that he's going to play 90 minutes, whatever happens. I think that's pretty solid to say. Haaland, he probably starts, in my opinion, against Fulham, but whether he plays the full 90... I don't know. I also think Fulham away is a much tougher fixture than West Ham at home at the moment. Fulham at home, they're not quite. I've bigged up Newcastle at home and said how they can win and keep a clean sheet against anyone. I don't think that's the case with Fulham, but I do think they're decent and they're going to be solid. And I just don't think Haaland's going to get the full 90. So I do think, there is a genuine shout to Captain Bruno Fernandes. And when you look at Solio's data, they've got 3 players ahead of Fernandes. They got ahead of Haaland. They've got Fernandes, Salah, and Saka. And obviously, I own both Bruno Fernandes and Saka this week. So it's just on the cartel. So that could be one of the first talking points about my team, I think, is who do I captain? Right now, I'll be honest, I think my heart is set on Haaland. I know there's an argument to captain Bruno, but Haaland is just, apart from obviously against Leeds at home in 13, but they kind of marked him out of the game, which let other Man City players come through. So I think hopefully Fulham will see that and just realise that marking Haaland out of the game is not a tactic you can play because there's so many other good Man City players. Yeah, I think I'm backing Haaland over Bruno, but I've got that in my brain as well. And also with Bruno, sorry to keep labouring the point about this, but I've said it in a lot of videos, but he can get returns through every mean, right? Goals, assists, from penalties, and DEFCON. So there is an argument, I think. I'm probably going to stick with Haaland, though. The other issue is Senesi related. So he's obviously banned for the Everton at home game, and then his next couple of fixtures are Chelsea and Man United. He does play Burnley and Brentford in, what would that be, 17 and 18? Yeah, 17 and 18. But by that point, we'll have our 5 free transfers from AFCON, so I could just bring him back if I wanted him for those games. So essentially, we've got a ban and then probably the second or best team on form in the league at the moment, and Man United, which I don't think are great fixtures, and obviously Bournemouth have been really poor. So I don't think it's, well, defensively at least, so I don't think it's short-term thinking to think, I want to get rid of Senesi. I look at the clean sheet odds across the board as well. This is from Solio again. Arsenal were just clear and above, right, any other team. And the other teams, there are some exciting ones. Well, interesting ones, I guess is probably the word. You got Man City. There's one player from Man City that sort of excites me. Based on the form that he's in at the moment, I think you have to look at Nico O'Reilly. The thing for me with him, though, and it's the old adage with Man City, right? Yeah, he might be a good option when he plays, but that's the exact point, is when he plays. They've got 8 Nori. I know he's off to AFCON in a couple of weeks' time, and when he goes, I think that makes O'Reilly a better option. But he's not gone yet. So he's a potential rotation option, and I don't necessarily think O'Reilly will play the full game against Fulham. Begs the question, when will he get subbed? If he plays 60 minutes and keeps a clean sheet, that's good enough. But honestly, I feel like if I have O'Reilly in my team, I'm just going to constantly be worried about him being rotated. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a wonderful player and he's not a bad pick in FPL. But at the same time, I can't get too excited about him, and I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling that it's the right transfer to my team. So we get back to the clean sheet odds then. So Man City was second, Liverpool were third. I really quite like to get Van Dijk into my team for Senesi, but I can't afford it. I've only got 0.5 million. Senesi's sell price for me, I think, is going to be 4.9, maybe even 4.8. So I only have 5.3 million to spend on a defender, and I don't think I can realistically get a good Liverpool defender for that price. Well, I want Van Dijk, I can't afford him. Newcastle is interesting. We'll get onto them in a second. I don't mind the Chelsea defence. Someone like Trevoh Chalobah could be pretty decent, but I'm not massively excited by their clean sheet odds coming up. So 14 and 16 look pretty good, but 15, 17, not great. Man United, they've got good games, but I don't think I can trust their defence. My first gut feel when I knew that Senesi was out was to bring in Chris Richards. I think I've been one of Chris Richards' biggest supporters on my videos, but at the same time, I haven't brought him into my team. The main thing for bringing him in was that in Game Week 14, the fixture where I really need him, he's got Burnley away, which is obviously a really good fixture, but at the same time, he might have Burnley away, but Glasner has been moaning in press conferences that his team isn't deep enough, doesn't have enough depth. They look leggy when they play the Crystal Palace. I don't think Chris Richards is the one, and I also think there's a chance he could be rotated. I think there's a chance he could be. When Gahey was out injured, I can't remember the name of the defender that played. He's not an FPL option, so I don't really have his name stored in my brain. But they do have another centre-back that they can trust to start. And I have a feeling that Lacroix and Gahey are kind of above Richards in the pecking order. So I do think, if I bring in Richards, it's not a bad transfer. But at the same time, I do think he could be rotated against Burnley. And also, I don't trust Palace long term based on how they've been looking in their games, i.e. looking really quite leggy. So those two are potential options, and were the first names that came to my mind, but I have doubts about them. I had a look at Solio again, so what I've done here is I've filtered the top defenders across the game basically for predicted points over the next 5 weeks. Top is Van Dijk, and I think probably makes sense. You know, Gabriel's out. Timber is second. Calafiori is third. I can't afford Calafiori. I've already got Timber, and I obviously can't afford Van Dijk. The next player on the list is Chow. Is it T or I think it's Malik Chow from Newcastle. He's really interesting. Obviously scored 2 goals at the weekend. Now, the 2 goals at the weekend, I'm not getting carried away with. I'm not going to pick Chow because he scored 2 goals at the weekend. What I will pick Chow for, though, is the fact that he's got 3... Can I say Sunderland away is a decent fixture? That will just have a complete aura about it, to be fair. But the next 2 games are really good. Tottenham at home, Burnley at home. Tottenham are hopeless. More hopeless at home than they are away, to be fair, but I think have looked pretty poor for a large portion of this season. Then he got Burnley at home after that. He's obviously proven he's a decent threat from set pieces. 2 clean sheets, only 2 clean sheets, unfortunately, from 10 appearances. But I feel at home, Newcastle just raised their level. I always say this about Newcastle. They just raised their level at home compared to away, and their form away this season has not been great. He's averaging 9 DEFCON per 90, which is, I don't think, is too bad at all. It's only about 1 less than Chris Richards. So I think you can consider him a player that has, you know, potential to get DEFCON points. I think he could be my replacement for Senesi. I just go back to the list of top defenders as well. Anderson, I've already got him, and he's got, Man City next. I can't play Anderson against Man City. Tarkowski, I don't have enough budget for him. Lacroix, I think he has the same problem that the other Crystal Palace defenders have. Konate, he's just out of reach for me. He could have been a pretty cool transfer in, actually, if I could get to him, but he's 0.1 away from me. And then I can't afford Guardiola, can't afford Munoz, and I don't want a United defender. The only other names that sort of popped out to me were Nottingham Forest defenders as well. I haven't got a feature or a list of them. The likes of Murillo, Nico Williams, someone like that. But don't know. Maybe I could. The one player I wanted to go for was Murillo, but because he missed game week 13, that just really put things in doubt for me about whether he'll return for 14. Deitch was saying he didn't risk him, but at the same time, he's not been great with injuries this season, Murillo, so I'm not sure I want him in my team long term. So that leaves me, I think my transfer in for Senesi will be Chow. Again, he's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is the perfect solution. I don't think he makes me feel entirely warm and fuzzy. Like I do think with Cher and Botman and Byrne, they got multiple centre-halves that could play that to Newcastle. So I don't think even he's immune from rotation. But I think of all the options that I see presented to me, with the money I have to replace Senesi, he's the one to get. So just go back to my team to summarise then. I think I will probably do Senesi to Chow. We'll do it on my deadline stream. All the moves I make will be confirmed on the deadline stream. So this week, I'll only do this transfer plans video, and then my big long deadline stream on Tuesday afternoon can count as the team selection. And yeah, I think I'll sell Senesi, get Chow, and that will obviously allow me to bench Joe Rodon. And then I think I've got a pretty decent team. The other worry I have is Thiago against Arsenal, but I think I just have to suck it up and play him, don't I? And to be honest, I know I've got double Arsenal defence, but they're not looking 100% at the moment, Arsenal. So I wouldn't rule out Thiago scoring. And then he's got Tottenham and Leeds after that. Great games. I think I can't bench or sell Thiago. No way. So yeah, that'll likely be my team for this week. Rodon goes to the bench. Senesi transferred out for Thiago, and Chow starts. I think that's a pretty good team if I do that. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. Feel free to laugh at me in the comments at my expense for my chips. Free hitting last week and triple captaining this week has been a disaster. And I think game week 17, when Haaland plays West Ham at home, I'm going to go on a holiday that weekend or something and just not have my phone or something. I don't know. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments if you've got any other suggestions for me. Although I do think Senesi Chiao is probably the best transfer I can make. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. It should be just there on your screen. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.